Hey guys, if you've been following us for the last little while, we've been posting videos of our RV renovation. Now, we purchased an old RV and we remodeled it from the very beginning, and what we found is we had to go through and pretty much rip out most everything out of this RV. Now, we have made videos along the way of specific areas and specific parts of the RV that we renovated, so if you're looking for more detail about the specific areas of the RV, then definitely check out our other videos. This RV is a 2004 Southwind Fleetwood. We've nicknamed him Mac, Fleetwood Mac. See what we did there? See that connection? That's my wife. She came up with that. Let me give you a little bit of background about our journey and how we started. We were living in a home that friends of ours asked us to live in. We were renting from them, and unfortunately, due to COVID-19 and the challenges for their business, they had to sell the house, and so we had to move. Now, we really weren't prepared to move, and that was a big challenge for us as well, and property values had gone up so much that we just really couldn't afford to buy a house at the time. I had my own challenges with my business, and so it was just a very difficult time for us. We decided to try to make lemonade out of lemons, and so we went out and looked for an RV. We thought, man, this would be a great time to do this now. We had thought in the past about grabbing an RV and maybe traveling a little bit, but now this is where we really had to make a decision, and it was go time. When we were looking into this, we watched a lot of YouTube videos that were out there. And I have watched several people that say they renovated their RV, which basically meant they changed the flooring and repainted their cabinets. That was pretty much it. For us, this turned into being a project that we ripped most everything out of the RV and changed a whole lot more than what we anticipated. But we're glad we did. So let's jump in and show you how we renovated this RV. It's time to redo the roof. This thing had water damage in it. When we were tearing it apart, we found it all over the place. I don't know exactly what happened or what this RV went through. We didn't see this from the outside when we first bought it, but as we got into more of the details, all the corners along the edges, especially of the ceiling, there just seemed like there had been water that had gotten in there. So I'm gonna try to take and clean the roof and then use this specific paint that's made for resealing and redoing the roof, as well as I'm going to be going around and trying to make sure all the cracks, around the edges of elements like the air conditioner, the vents, that they are all taken care of. So let's dive into this. Here we go. Initially, I thought a bucket and water would do the trick, but I'm gonna get out the hose and use my pressure nozzle to spray this thing down. Here we go. I don't know, maybe this is just too much my personality, but I think it's good enough. I'm wet. I sprayed off my little scrubber thing accidentally, and I think I made enough of a mess where I was a close call to spray water inside. So, I mean, there's still marks, there's still stuff that's there. I've kind of washed out my footprints. I mean, I'm sure it could be a whole lot better, but I'm gonna let it go and dry, and then hopefully we can start painting soon. What are we doing today, Shel?
Ceiling! Get that icky carpet off. We had carpet on the ceiling. It's actually still there. We had it underneath our slide out, and I tried ripping it off. It came off super easy. I was able to take it off, on the slide out. Took it off almost all in one strip. I was pretty excited about that because it was originally a creamish color, but it had water spots on it. It was brown, and it was almost fiberglassy. It was really fiberglassy. Really, to the touch, it was always shedding on you. It was really gross. But when we tried to tear it off the normal ceiling, it wouldn't come.
We couldn't really paint over it. We really couldn't do much. So Shel came up with the idea of doing shiplap. But we found this board at Home Depot that was much more inexpensive than buying even plywood. And Shel's like, why don't we grab that? That's cheaper. The question was, how do we actually attach it to the ceiling, right?
Yep.
So what did we end up doing? What were you happy with? What did I do that messed it up?
You didn't. We used the liquid nails on the edges. Did we end up doing it on every single board?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did it.
The
Focused on
nails.
the edges, but did a strip down the middle too.
And then we just used our nail gun.
Shell would use a ruler, or actually she used sometimes bits of the board.
Just to space it for our spacing. So we use the ruler and the boards are the same thickness. We just put it in place, hold it there, and then slide it along as we nailed it.
Which I think was actually smarter compared, because what they tell you with shiplap, take, what, 3 pennies?
Or nickels.
Or nickels or something like that, and put them together, and that's your spacing you should use. I thought this ruler was really nice because you could then slide it as you went. Because as compared to having to pull it out and then move it, she just slid it across. And so we'd start on one end, staple it or nail it as we went across, and we would make sure that as we went, we'd keep it nice and sucked up to the other side. So I thought that worked out really well. But we did shiplap through the entire RV, front and back. Started in the back, worked our way forwards.
The only exception was in the bathroom, right above where the shower fixtures are going to be. We're gonna put tile in there.
Yeah, I don't think these would stand up to water unless you did some major treatment to the fronts of it. We had one of them that got a little bit of water on it, and we probably should have buffed it out before we put it up there. We thought it would just smooth over with the paint, but it didn't. So tell me, how would you describe the color of the carpet originally that was here?
80s green. It was not pretty. And then it was piled with dust and dirt from 10 years of use.
It was ready to switch. It was ready to go. And I would say that was actually the funnest part of pulling up. It was pulling up the carpet. That was the fun part of renovation. Rip this part up. You ready? Here we go. Yeah. Work it. Whoa, Jax, look at you go. We had seen a whole bunch of videos online of other people that had done this type of flooring, and we were really excited to get it. The type that we got was this Mastercraft or Master Flooring. I can't remember what the brand was. So the type of flooring that we decided to go with was not a peel and stick, but it did have adhesive on around the edges of it. And so it would fit together as you put it down, and that's what would hold it in place. So it's not glued to the ground, it's not nailed into the floor. It very much is there, and we could pull it up if we wanted to, but it's been fine.
I think we stated too when we talked about the bunk room. We did start in the bunk room, back underneath where the bunks were going to be, so that we could get a feel of it and make sure we knew how to place it down. However, I will say I think the messiest part is up underneath the driver's seat. There's so many weird angles and edges. And I would say if everything was level, if it wasn't for the bumps and everything and the weird edges and corners, it would be a piece of cake. It was time consuming. We did use more than we thought we would have needed. Yeah. But overall, it was a fun project to do together.
In the end, we're not looking for our floor to be perfect. It's just supposed to be something that's comfortable, it's usable, easy to clean, and looks decent, and that's what it does for us. Okay, I'm going to talk about our loft that we created. And I am really excited to talk about this because it was a big challenge, and it was something that I think is unique to RVing. Not most Class A's have a loft like this. And so I'm going to dive in and talk about how we created it and why we created it. First, the reason why we wanted to do this is because the shelving and cabinetry that was up there, even though it was in okay shape and Shell really didn't want me to take it down, I still did. We made the decision, we're finally taking this down. That is not easy. Plus, look at the fun stuff we just found here. The other RVs that we went and looked at, the kids loved the loft above the driver's seats in some of the Class C's that we saw. We figured that instead of having extra storage space and a TV up there, we would be better suited to have kind of a loft area for another child to sleep, or for, as we have more kids, for them to sleep. We created a wood framework that went from one side to the other and was actually pocket hole connected to each other. In the end, it was pretty secure. Like, I felt confident going up there. I actually put a lot of my weight on there. I felt like it really wasn't going to crash down. However, it was flimsy and flexible, and it was a little bit frustrating. So we tried all kinds of different things and looked at it different ways, and we're probably spending too much time on doing the loft. In the end, what seemed to help make it nice and sturdy was towards the front of the cab, we took some other beams and then screwed the whole thing up to the support to the top of the cab.
We call this our core workout.
We also added this piece of alder that goes across that's nice and stained as the accent piece, is kind of the trim that we were doing throughout the RV. And we were able to then screw into the back, through the metal, into the alder without you actually seeing the screws coming out the other side, on the side that you see. And that really helped solidify that and make that nice and sturdy. Hold down on it. So in the end, we're really excited about the way this turned out and how it looks. It's also a nice place that if we wanted to throw up some other materials or some bedding or some pillows or whatever, it's a really good storage area for that. And maybe in the future we might add some extra shelves on the side because it's actually bigger than a Twin XL. There's actually some extra space on there. In the end, it gives us the space that we need for what we're trying to do. The kitchen is a really important aspect and probably one of the first ones that we talked and looked through and thought through, because the kitchen there is where you're doing most of your cooking. It's also where it's kind of a hub for the RV, where people are washing their hands real quick, or where we're putting up some materials. Or it's also a challenge because there's a lot of pieces to a kitchen. It's not as simple as putting a couch in a living room, nor even building some of the beds that we did. There's a lot more moving parts and a lot more that we had to kind of think through as we put this together. All right, we need to figure out how to get this thing, focus, to there. From here to there. And then these things up there. Now, we are not cabinet makers, and as we were doing this process of building the kitchen, we had to kind of make a decision. Okay, how much do we want to make custom? Now, if we had a lot more time, sure, we could have built custom cabinetry, and we would have gotten exactly what we wanted. In the end, though, what we ended up doing was going to the Home Depot and purchasing pre-made cabinets. Now, there were some drawbacks to that. One is obviously we didn't have exactly the size that we wanted. And so we had some issues that we kind of had to work around. But the benefit of it was we had it pre-made, and all we had to do was bring it in, screw it in place, paint it, and we were pretty much done. So the speed outweighed the challenges that we had besides that. So in another video, we talked about butcher block, and Shell was really great and inspired to do butcher block. I'm really glad she did. I think it looks really good. It gives us a nice, good working surface. And so luckily we had just enough left over of these strips of butcher block. They're about an inch and a half cube kind of strips that we created, and they worked really well. You'll probably also look at the backsplash that we used. Now, what was really popular is using a sticker backsplash. Shell picked out this brick-looking backsplash. Now for the sink, it was actually pretty simple. We kept the original sink from the RV. The previous owner had put this sink in there. We probably would have done something else if we would have chosen, but in the end, this was perfect for what we needed, and it fit in there just fine. Now, one of the big challenges that we faced was cooking. We actually purchased this convection microwave. Now, it was a huge challenge, but we ended up bolting this convection microwave to the cabinetry above, and that actually has been very sturdy and very sound. We were really excited to find these copper mugs, and that's been something that Shell's been really excited about. Shell did a really great job kind of organizing and making it look really aesthetic, and it just is a beautiful kitchen to be in. Is the bathroom your favorite thing that we renovated?
No.
Oh, okay.
Is it yours?
No, but I think we did a really heck of a good job.
We did a great job in the bathroom.
When we were looking at this RV, I don't think we really even looked in the bathroom. We were just kind of like, oh, let's look at everything else. Bathroom, okay.
This is the bathroom. We redid a lot in the bathroom. Well, no, it was all a big project. The bathroom was a big project to do.
So the shower was tough because usually in RVs, at least I think, they have that all-in-one shower where it's this container, it's all one piece. that wraps around the walls. Usually the base is also a part of that. For us, we had the piece that went around the walls, and then we had the pan. We took all that out. It was old, it was dirty, there was rust stains on it, and we took it out. And what I was excited about is I found this material that looked like tile, but it was more of a plastic type material. It was easier to handle, and it actually locked together. It was a lot like the flooring that we chose. So we found that, and we put in the pan very first, and we then lined up and just did the tile, and we worked it from the bottom up. We had some challenges getting it to fit, and Shell's mentioned this before. Nothing in an RV is completely straight and level and square. And that was the case in the shower.
The sink that we decided to go with is a bowl sink.
I think they call it a vessel sink.
A vessel.
Technical term, vessel.
Maybe.
I don't know. Watch me be wrong. We left the cabinets that were in there, the upper cabinets that have the mirrors on them, but you changed by adding in the nice mirror that's in there.
It needed something. The walls were falling apart in there, and there wasn't really much we could do without replacing the walls. So we sanded it down best we could, took off the wallpaper, found a really big mirror, and the light fixtures in there. I think it really brings it all together.
The style of the faucet and also of the shower fixtures, they are called an oil rubbed copper. And so that's the look that we found, and we've kind of used that throughout.
Jeff has been really good at entertaining all of my stylistic ideas. It's not always the easiest.
I think the bathroom just looks beautiful.
It
so
is.
Much better than what it did before. Okay, we're going to talk about the table that we renovated in our RV.
We made it. We didn't renovate it.
Oh, yeah. Most tables in an RV, you can actually adjust into a bed. And so it gives you another space that if you've got people coming or if you need the bed, you can lay down a full-size bed. In the end, we decided to forget a bed and actually build a table that was more functional and beautiful and something for us because this was going to be our table. We're going to eat at all the time. This is where we're going to have our school workout on. This is our main one single table in the house, in the RV. So if you look at what it looked like beforehand, you basically had two seats that faced each other with a table that could be broken down to make into a bed, and it really wasn't that functional. It was actually just you put it on two other little stilts. It wasn't really cool. It wasn't really a nice little function. So
ugly.
We threw that out, and we decided to build something where we have a bench against the wall that was permanent that we could put a drawer in. And I was really excited about this drawer. It was the first drawer I built, and I think it did a pretty good job.
And it's really great. We put tons of stuff in there.
The drawer is different because the drawer itself comes out really far. It's a nice deep drawer. It goes all the way back. But also you can lift off the top, see into the back if you want to. Crash and burn.
Hang on.
And someone just woke up from nap time. Yay! We had a hard time finding a cushion for the tops of the drawers, or that drawer. We tried a cat bed out. We tried some other random piece of foam. And we finally came down to getting those pads that go on stools, and we put on chairs. Yeah, chairs, not stools. That ties to the back of the chairs, and we actually tied two of them together, and so you can flip it up and have one behind you, but most of the time we just have them down and the kids sit on them. The other thing that we wanted to do for the tables, we wanted to underneath have some cabinets that would open up so we had more storage underneath the table. There was enough space. Again, we're making the table really big as we could fit onto the slide.
So we got a pre-made cabinet from Home Depot again, and it's a hanging cabinet, so it sits on the ground, and that has all of the back weight of the table on it.
We actually screwed it into the wall to get it nice and sunk in there, and then we also screwed into the table, so the table is then connected to it.
From the inside.
We still wanted to have extra sturdiness to it, so we decided to put IKEA legs down on the front of it.
So the IKEA legs that we got weren't tall enough, so we made improvements to it.
we took some butcher blocks and made squares. And then what we had to do is we had to screw and glue the blocks to the bottom of the table, the butcher block table, and then screw the plate into those wood blocks.
The plate to the leg.
Well, and then screw the leg into that plate. Yeah, so it's the plate that goes with the leg that comes from IKEA. So it was kind of involved, but once we got them in there, I mean, it's been sturdy and nice and hasn't moved. And
we haven't had one issue with our table. It's the kids coloring on it. That's the problem.
Well, and that's one of the benefits of butcher block. And you can maybe talk more of this, but I mean, what happens if they do color? What have you done?
It's pretty easy to scrub out. It's unfinished wood. We just put a conditioner on it, so I just use a little scrubber and go against the grain a little bit. It comes out pretty well. I did order our stools on Amazon. They came in a package of 4, and we put 2 here on the side of the couch.
The other thing I'll say that's nice about the stools is that you can stack them. So we can stack up the stools and put them someplace if we need to, and so that's really nice and handy. So we're going to talk about this back room, the back area of our RV, and the renovation process, kind of the thoughts that went into it. So first, let's talk about the state of what it was like when we had it, when we got it. I would say one of the reasons why we liked this RV is that there's a lot of potential that we could kind of take it the way we wanted to.
Yep.
I think also we initially, at least for me, I was kind of drawn to this RV because there were so many seats. And we were thinking, oh, well, let's just, I mean, if we've got more seats, we can travel, we have a bigger family, more seats is what we need, but that's really...
We took out all the seats.
Yeah, we didn't use any of the seats.
This back room had 2 separate couches in here that had seatbelts in them. It was basically their teenager lounge. They had a TV area, they had lots of cupboards.
Now, keep in mind, for the original way this probably was put together was this is where the queen size bed should be at.
They did have the foam mattress that they pulled out, and this is where the adults slept at night.
It's one of those foam mattresses that goes from a couch to a queen size bed. But it was really kind of awkward though. I mean, because when you fold it out, if you really wanted that to be your queen mattress, I remember when I tried it, we were kind of testing out, and like I hit my head. I mean, it really wasn't going to be a good queen mattress. It just wasn't going to work that way.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, and we didn't realize the slide on this is unusual. It's higher and comes in instead of being underneath like the other slides. So we had to deal a lot with construction and how we were going to make that work for our bunk beds.
So this is the room that we first started putting the flooring down. We actually did flooring underneath the slide bunk beds.
It was also a good starting point. We knew it wasn't going to be seen. We could experiment with how the floor was going to look and how we wanted to lay it.
Talk about the inspiration for the bunk beds, because you did a lot of research online for bunk beds, and there's a certain look you were going for.
I really wanted the bunk beds to be functional, sturdy, but cute. I mean, I wanted this area to be a place where the kids liked to be, where they could hang out, where it was their own space. We did several drawings for what we wanted the bunk beds to look like, and there were several times where Jeff had this all meticulous, and I'd look at it and I'd be like, I don't know what you're doing. Scrap that. I appreciated the effort, but I had a very specific look that I was going for, and I'm very happy with how they turned out.
I am too.
A couple of things we learned about the beds. We were just gonna have planks, at least on the bottom ones, because we figured they were closer to the ground. Would be just fine. So
kids wouldn't be too heavy either.
We'd put the planks down and then put the mattress over it. After getting the mattresses, we realized we really needed to make sure it had
some plywood.
A piece of plywood that the mattress could lay evenly on. So one thing that I wanted to make sure each kid had in their bunk bed was a shelf. A personal shelf where they could put all of their personal items, and I told them anything that fits on their shelf they can bring, and anything that we get along the way has to fit in their shelf. The icing on the cake is the bedding that we decided to use for our bunk beds. And doing a lot of research and hearing tons of fantastic reviews, we decided to go with the company Betty's. So we ordered RV bunk mattresses. all we had to do with the beddies is we used the sheet clips. And I put sheet clips on the bottom of the beddies and it kind of just sucked it in. But the best thing about these beds is that all you have to do is zip them closed. And they're beautiful. They keep the beds tidy. I don't have to come back here and figure out how to climb up onto a bunk bed being 7 months pregnant to clean up after my kids, because all they need to do is all of our kids' clothes fit right here. And I will show you that because I'm very impressed with my packing skills.
And on this dresser drawer, we've got a drawer for each child, plus one. We did shelves that had lips on the front so that things couldn't slide out.
It's good. We keep a couple of toys, hats, books, crayons, things up there.
I knew I needed to build, we needed to build this cabinet, and it had to share the wall of the bunk beds. So you notice we try to use as much space as possible. So when this slide comes in, it comes pretty close up to the end of this.
When we were showing family members, they'd come back here and they're like, "Are you sure you're gonna be able to pull the slide in?"
Yeah.
And
Did you put enough room?
I would just get so frustrated. I'm like,
we tested this
so many times. Do you know how many papers we've gone through?
Yeah. Okay, this is momentous. We just did this. We're gonna reenact it. The coming in. So is this actually gonna work? Perfect. Space for the lights. Perfect. Woohoo! I think we came back with the best combination of good aesthetics. I like the way it looks. It feels homey. It feels comfortable. But at the same time, function is important as well.
I will say, with our cute little lights, I wanted some cute things in here, and there were a couple of non-negotiables. The cups were one of them. But honestly, the extras, the stained wood that we wanted to make sure was around the trim is one of my favorite things.
Yeah. I love the handles too that Shell picked. Shell even took the handles, spray painted them a little bit extra, so they had a not so bright of a copper look. I think Shell did a really good job planning this, where when we close it up with the slide coming in, it still works. You can open drawers, you can get into the beds, you can get up and down. It still works really well. It's just when you have the slide out, you've got more space.
Yep. This is by far our favorite room. We loved making this. This was our from scratch room. This was just a square.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of hard work into this. Whenever we would get discouraged, we just come in here and sit down for a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
This room's pretty okay. We can do this. And it's been great. We haven't had any issues with the kids. They love their beds. They love this back room. It's been very functional and fun for them.
Well, there you have it. That is the compilation of our entire RV renovation. I hope you found this to be helpful. I know for us, we looked at a ton of YouTube videos before jumping in and doing our renovation, and having these videos were so helpful, especially along the way when we ran into problems or had issues, or if we're trying to get some inspiration to think of some new ideas. It was really helpful to go out and see other people's videos. So I hope this has been inspiring for you. And for us, doing this project was a little bit more than what we considered. There's a lot more work that we didn't foresee going into this project. However, it has turned out to be very satisfying, and one that our kids have really enjoyed being in this RV and traveling. So hopefully this helps you in your RV renovation process. I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing and what questions you may have. Hit us up, let us know what you're doing. Anyway, good luck.